Hey guys, it's Hollywood Studios here, and it's going to be a bit of a different type of video. Obviously, I'm at Great Adventure right now, and I figured instead of doing a voiceover, I'd change it up and do it like this. So today we're going to be looking at all the coasters I think could be removed theoretically in the near future at Great Adventure. We're going to go from coaster to coaster and take a look at which is most likely, which is not likely, and yeah, we'll see you at the first coaster. So first up, we have King Dakota. This is probably the park's most iconic coaster, being the tallest coaster in the world and the fastest coaster in North America. It is absolutely a giant, and its sister coaster, Dragster, if you know me personally, you know that I think that's actually on the chopping block. I wouldn't say the same about Ka though. It has nowhere near as much downtime as Dragster does. You can hear it launching right now. But yeah, Ka, I don't think this ride is going anywhere anytime soon. I think Ka will have a nice long life here at the park, and we will see it last a long time. That being said, it will need a major refurbishment very soon at some point, since it's a very complicated ride. I'm sure the launch and the track, it's all had a lot of wear done on it, so it'll definitely need some kind of major refurbishment if they're going to keep it around. But considering how deep the footers had to be and just how much of a undertaking it was to construct this ride, I think it will get some kind of refurbishment, and that will keep this ride going here for a while. Next, we have the Boardwalk coasters, Superman and Green Lantern. Both are relatively new. Green Lantern was put at the park in 2011. However, the ride was in existence for much longer, all the way back to the 90s in Kentucky, at Kentucky Kingdom. So, truly, I don't know if it's going to really go anywhere. Maybe eventually they'll convert it to a sit-down, but Bizarro's in the park, so that's very tough to decide on. And as for Superman, this ride is fairly complicated. It has the whole flying coaster aspect. Not really sure what they're going to do with it, quite honestly. Very iconic, very popular. Both of these rides are iconic and popular, so truly I don't know if they're going to really go anywhere. But Superman, like I said, is a more complicated ride, and Green Lantern's seating arrangement isn't the most simple either. So Green Lantern eventually will have to get new trains, but like I said, it's still very popular, so there's not really a reason to majorly modify either one of these. El Toro, arguably the best coaster in the park. I know it's closed, obviously. It's been closed for a while now. It's closed indefinitely, technically. But the people that think this is going to get removed are out of their mind. This is not going to get removed. They just poured quite a bit of work into it, presumably a lot of money too, to fix it. I'm sure it'll be open at the beginning of next season, hopefully. But Toro, it's too big of a draw. It's one of their most popular attractions. In the eyes of many, it's their best attraction. This ride is not going anywhere. Good old Mine Train, the oldest coaster in the park. Also one of the most scenic coasters in the park, as you can see by this awesome setting. And it's a fun ride, mainly for this element right here. That element right there really throws you out of your seat. It's awesome. But this ride is the oldest coaster in the park, opened all the way back in 1974. And there's definitely been quite a bit of work done to it. That hill had work. That segment right there is retracked. I'm sure the trains have been restored. There's a lot that's been done to this ride, and it's just such a staple of the park. I don't see it getting removed. It's a really, really great ride though, and yeah, I don't know why people hate it, truly. It's a really fun ride for what it is, and it is not going to get removed, if you ask me. I'd be very surprised to see them get rid of this, because they really can't replace it with much of anything. The next coaster is Bizarro. Bizarro is an interesting coaster, considering the fact that it's pretty old. It just had its 20th season 2 years back, so it's now 22 years old as of the time of this video's recording. So it's getting up there. It's the first B&M floorless ever built, but it has a pretty nice presence at the park. If you ask me, it looked a little better as Medusa because it fit in with the whole Frontier theme, but it still looks great. I love this entrance, of course, but what's going to happen to it? So I think that this ride is definitely going to be needing some kind of refurbishment soon. Granted, it doesn't run as much as something like Hulk or Kraken, but Hulk at Universal recently, back in 2016, did get a full retrack, and I'm not sure, I don't know if Bizarro is really that far away from something along those lines. It's definitely been running a little rough lately, and I don't know, I'm very curious to see what happens with this ride, but this ride is definitely somewhat on the list of rides I can see leaving in the near future. I'm not saying next year, maybe 10 years from now it might not be here. It all depends on what they decide to do with this ride, but I'm not really sure how they're gonna handle Bizarro, but quite frankly, its fate is looking a little more grim than the other rides. Now would probably be a good time to mention that Joker, Harley Quinn, and of course their two newest coasters, Jersey Devil and Lil Devil, are definitely not going to get removed anytime soon. They're new additions, and quite frankly, they're going to stay. I mean, why would they get rid of something they just bought? So those four are definitely off the chopping block for sure. They are not going anywhere. Here we come up on Skull Mountain, and this ride is very difficult to decide on. It's not like it's young, it's fairly old. It opened back in the 90s. So it's definitely had quite a long period of time here at the park. It's an Intamin, it's fairly reliable actually, it's pretty much always open. It's indoors, which really helps for its longevity, and it's a family coaster. So I don't know, I mean, it really depends on if the ride is popular enough or sustainable enough for the park. I obviously wouldn't know. I would say it's probably here for quite a while, especially because the mountain itself, I mean, it's just a big show building, but it's a really, really cool setup here. Of course, very iconic. Everyone knows Skull Mountain. So yeah, I'd say Skull Mountain's probably going to be around for a while, but it's also tough to tell because you never know what they're going to do with this ride. They could keep it around or they can just decide to remove it. Then again, it is getting old. It's well over 20 years old now, so I guess time will tell what happens to Skull Mountain. As I said in the previous clip, this ride is obviously not going anywhere. It's brand new, so this ride is going to stay here for sure. Batman. This ride is in a very similar fate to Bizarro in the fact that it's fairly old and it's tough to judge what they're going to do with it. It was pretty much confirmed that it's going to get a repaint this year, so I'm sure that'll make the park keep it around for a little longer. But it's the second oldest coaster in the park actually, just behind Runaway Train, opened back in '93. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what the park decides to do with Batman. But I'd say that this and Bizarro are probably like the top two on the chopping block if they were to get rid of something. This is also a pretty good plot of land. They could definitely replace it with something. But that being said, I don't want to see it removed, obviously, and I don't know that it necessarily will happen. I'm just saying that out of all their coasters, this and Bizarro, as of right now, are probably more likely to get removed. Nitro. Now, this is a ride where it's old. It's around 20 years old now, and quite honestly, I don't know how long these B&M Hypers are going to last. We haven't seen any of them get removed, obviously, so we don't really know just how big their longevity is. I would assume that they're very, very long, like they can last for a while, but we haven't seen any kind of retracts, any kind of like major maintenance done on B&M Hypers. So it's very tough to judge with Nitro. I can say for sure it's like the most popular ride in the park, so they definitely don't want to get rid of it. I'd say it's definitely towards the bottom in terms of likelihood. I mean, it's just so popular. As you can see, it's power hours right now, and the line's all the way back here. So yeah, it's a very popular ride. This ride, I don't really see it going anywhere unless maintenance requires it to go. And we ended off on one of Great Adventure's honestly more obscure coasters, Dark Knight. So if you haven't been on this, it's an indoor wild mouse. It's nothing too crazy, but it's got some really cool theming, and you can even see a little bit of the pre-show in there. Pre-show is actually really, really good for this when it's on. But essentially, it's just a wild mouse in a box, so it really doesn't require that much maintenance. It's also fairly new, opening in 2008. So truly, I don't really see this ride going anywhere. It's sometimes popular, sometimes not. Most of the times, you can pretty much walk right on it. But it's definitely the less popular Batman ride in Movie Town compared to that Batman. So I don't know, I'm very curious to see what winds up happening with this coaster, especially now that the Batman series is being rebooted again with the Batman. So maybe they'll retheme it, I'm not really sure what they'll do. But yeah, Dark Knight's a very obscure coaster, and truly I'm not too sure what they'll wind up doing with it. So all in all, what do I think? I'm going to say that Batman and Bizarro are probably most likely to get removed next. I'm not saying that they're going to be removed next year, but out of all of Great Adventure's coasters, I definitely say Batman and Bizarro are most likely to be removed just because of the fact that they're older and they're going to need some extreme maintenance very soon. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Bizarro is also in a really, really dead part of the park, so not really sure what they're going to wind up doing with it. After that, I'd probably put Green Lantern and Superman kind of in the same tier. They're very popular rides, so I don't really see them going anywhere for that reason. But it's still very, very tough to judge what they'll do with them because they're not necessarily simple rides. Superman has a very complicated restraint system, and so does Green Lantern. Green Lantern also has a lot of years on it. It's a very old ride. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. Of course, I should mention that Jersey Devil, Joker, Lil Devil, anything new is not going anywhere. They're definitely they're not going to get rid of them. And I'd say Harley Quinn's probably not going anywhere either because they recently rethemed it with Joker. Toro, it's like I said, I don't think it's going anywhere, but if this off-season maintenance doesn't go well, then, well, what else are they going to do? I don't think Toro's going to get removed, though, trust me. Same thing with Ka. Ka also is a coaster. It requires a lot of maintenance, as we've seen with Top Thrill Dragster, too. I don't really think it's going to go anywhere, though, because it was such a production to build the ride as it is, and truly, I just don't think they're going to tear down all that work. So, yeah, I'd say all those rides are going to stay. But point of the video, nothing at Great Adventure is really on a chopping block. If they're going to get rid of anything, they're going to have to pick really hard and wise. But if they do decide to remove something, I would predict it will be Bizarro or Batman over anything. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this format of video over my usual voiceover video, please do let me know in the comments. Of course, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.